replaced him, and Terrence Howard never came back. Rhodey didn't play, and Don Cheadle didn't play two different roles. He was just Don Cheadle.
You don't consider Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. MCU, do you?
The MCU doesn't consider Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. MCU up to a point.
Yeah, I consider
they do and they don't. It's like a quasi thing, right?
Yeah, but, up to a point. Like after like season 2, they don't care. Yeah. It does. Like for them, they just like cut it off.
Agent Coulson, spoilers, since somebody won't watch it. Agent Coulson dies at the end of season 5. They bring him back for season 6 as another character. Then they bring him back in season 7 and 8 as another character, but it's like a robotic version of the original character.
Yeah.
So he's still in the show, but the character is not. So it's not like they haven't done this before and can't do it and don't do it. It's just that it's got to be right. It's got to be done right. So I'm curious to see how they're going to explain and do it.
All right.
Alternate universe. They're doing multiverses. I mean,
I don't think you're understanding my issue with it. Yes, I'm completely understanding they can do this. Marvel does this crap all the time. You men have different. There's like 30 Magnetos walking around at one point in time. Okay, between scrolls, clones, alternate universes, blah. It's all Marvel. It's canon. I get that. It's just the more of why.
Well, maybe they've got this cool story that they want to do with it.
I doubt that, but
right, but because of how things have gone at this moment in time, my brain immediately goes pandering, or we had this whole plan. We had this whole plan with Kang, and we can't do it. In case of emergency, pull the Robert Downey Jr. lever.
Right, and then someone pulled the Doom button at the same time. I'm like,
yeah, they're like, we had this whole plan. We can't do this plan anymore.
Right.
Pull the lever.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I think he's going to do a great job with Doom.
Right.
I think if, depending on what some of the writers do, if they have a plan, which Doom needs a plan, or it's going to be stupid like every other Fantastic Four Doom movie, right? Doom needs his overarching plan. I think they can do and pull something really cool out of their butts for it. It's just more of there are so many great actors on the shelf that could play Doom. Matter of fact, screw it. Honestly, if they take that dump truck of money and give it to Tom Cruise, would have been a great Doom. Okay.
They could have dump truck of money a bunch of people, but it's like I'm just concerned because like I haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet. I heard it's good. I have not seen it yet. I have not gone out and seen it yet, so I have no opinions on it.
But ton of money so far. So,
but everything before now, after Endgame, has been like it has like 2 good movies, and everything else has just kind of been middling to bad.
Yeah. Doctor Strange was really like the beginning of the end for good storytelling in the MCU. It's just that was just a terrible mess.
Brian, have I told you what happened with that movie?
What happened with it?
Yes. When they had a script ready to go, then they decided to scrap it because they're putting in Wanda into the movie. So they gave the writer a month to write a new script. 3 weeks in, COVID happened. Thus, he only had 3 weeks to do it. Then Sam Raimi joined on. They were like, you know what? No, scrap the 3 weeks of work you did. You have a week to write a script. And half of the script was written on the fly while it was happening. There's interviews on the DVDs of him talking about how he didn't know what he was doing, and he had to have like an interesting climax because there's nothing else he could do because he was writing it on the fly. They gave him they already had like 80% of the sets already built. So he had to write a movie around the sets they've already made without Blackheart, which was the main villain that they were going with, Shadowheart, the main villain that we're going to go with, and Shadowheart and Baron Mordo, and they were like, no, scrap all of it. So he was writing the third act while they were filming the first act. So yeah, storytelling went way down the drain for Doctor Strange.
Yeah. It's just for like, it's just very telling. Like there is like no overarching plan. Like this was like a television, like just individual television series, individual things, sort of this massive juggernaut of, you know, a cinematic universe of lore and backstory. Just seems like these writers just don't know what to do with it, you know.
Yeah.
And there's just not enough to it to keep moving forward. And old lore hurts series. You know, look what Doctor Who has to deal with half the time. You know, it's hard to write like anything without going like, I don't know, the door is supposed to open up this direction on the TARDIS. If it opens up the other direction, that's something else. It's like, give a fuck. I just want to throw up the door. Let's have fun. Right, I was like, I've been in this argument about this door before. He's on mute, so I'm gonna.
No. William Hartnell had a big deal about this when he was doing the Doctor. They had a lot of people come and go while he was doing that first into the Doctor before they decided they were going to regenerate him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was getting mad because these new people would come on and they'd try to do something. He's like, no, I can't. You know, I can't push the button over here because the button last time I pushed it was over here to do the thing. And they were like, well, why does it matter? He's like, well, the fans will know.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The fans watch the show, they'll see it. You got to keep doing it. So he had in his mind how things work. So
Mm-hmm.
he had to kind of keep telling them that they couldn't block it or pace it the way they were trying to, because he couldn't get to the right buttons and stuff. So he led that in Doctor Who. That's why they've tried so hard to maintain that continuity, but then they've also kind of just ignored it when they ever felt like they needed to.
But it just shows how hard it is, how dedicated your fan base is, right? And it's like, it was like, well, the fans are ticked off, because they care about and have carried this baby. You know, it's it's the tripod of like the passion project for anything these things.
And most of these people who make these movies, they do the movie, they move on to the next thing. They don't even care, they don't think about it. Whereas fans are sitting there and they live it, they enjoy it, they rewatch it, they talk about it. It's
correct.
It's frustrating to
care
understand
about the
that.
accuracy of things. Of like, one of the things that apparently that's been a big issue with the Assassin's Creed game, right? They showed gameplay trailers, right? For feudal Japan, people had rice sitting out in the rain, which rice was basically currency at that point. And people were like, that doesn't make any sense if you guys are supposed to be accurate to history. And then somebody pointed out, it's like, it makes no sense for there to be fully ripe pomegranates, rice ready to be harvested, and sakura blossoms all at the same time. That makes no sense. Those are 3 different seasons of things all at once.
My favorite tweet when I was watching that was some Japanese guys like, so this is what cultural appropriation is. I was like, this, that. All right, okay, all right. I'll give you that. I want to be contrarian and go like, it's okay. It's my syllable. Okay, baby. No, I'm just shocked. Those people that since they're going like, well, I didn't know like rice was considered like for taxes and pay, and I was like, yeah. Did you watch any like old samurai movies or something? But your payment was rice.
Exactly. So it's people care about the little things, and that's what I feel like a lot of these writers don't understand, that if you set something up in movie 1 and then ignore it in movie 2 and then try to bring it back in movie 3, you have problems.
You got problems, man. I almost wish someone had like some sort of like series about talking about this. Anyways, hello everybody, welcome to an exciting new episode of Low Key on the We Live Turn Network. My name is Harry, aka the Movie Target, and we're back after a month. Sorry, I have been busy. I've been out doing things out in the world. I've been getting sick and having headaches. I also went and competed in a yoga competition. Did really well at it. came back a champion in my heart, and that's what really does matter. Did see some great, amazing yoga bodies, saw some great, amazing yogis. Now I'm back here. We're ready to get this ball rolling. We're halfway done with the year. This rest of the year is going to be a lot of fun, at least in our space, anyways. The other side of the network with all the other people, they're dealing with all kinds of other like fires and people arguing about different ball sacks everywhere, but I just call it culture shock, which if they would just come here, we could easily just tell them like, hey, only United States, only if you speak English, if you're really concerned with unity. If you don't speak English, most people don't give a damn. Yeah. But we're not going to discuss most of that here. That's what this today's episode is about. This today's episode is about creative vandalism. So this is a really neat topic. Vincent posted this thing about, and it's something like we've almost like hit on a lot this year, and it was kind of neat watching this video to get to get convalescence of that point. But before I get too far ahead of my vote, let's introduce the rest of the cast of characters, the voices that you've heard of some of the stuff we're talking about. Listen, if you're part of the key holders, you can get this amazing topic that we talk about for the 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after if you're amazing key holder. So, yeah. Anyways, we got Ryan on.
Good evening. How everything going? Sorry, I had to duck out just for a second. My wife decided that was a good time for her to ask for dinner. So she's getting to wait for a little bit for hers.
Right, hold if you need to go and get your wife
He's good. She's like, oh no, I forgot. You just go ahead. I'll be good. So.
Well, we demand. Okay, well, all right.
She's not starving, hungry. She's
right.
Not like she hasn't eaten today.
Okay, well, tell her next time she should get on the stream than ask in the stream. Okay. We could use an extra live viewer.
Anyway. You be careful because she will.
Then the man with the famous laugh of the network got Vincent. Actually, the guy who brought the topic to us. So, you can say hi.
Hey everyone, I'm here once again, existing, playing too much Zinless Zone Zero. Free action game. It's a gacha game, but still, it's free. I haven't spent a dime. I
didn't know what it was.
You see that meme I shared the other day? That feeling when you've been playing and enjoying a free-to-play game, they haven't demanded money yet. You're like,
I haven't spent a dime.
I'm kind of surprised that you didn't explain that we weren't on last week because of CrowdStrike.
What?
The network got infected with CrowdStrike, right?
No, CrowdStrike had nothing to do with it being on last week. We was on last week because my plane was
literally the time the episode was supposed to start.
Yeah, my plane was like super late, and then
why was the plane late?
The plane was late because I rode Southwest. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they weren't affected by CrowdStrike because they're still running Windows 3.1.
Yeah, 3.1, and the scheduling's done on Amigas. Okay.
The co-pilot's a TI-84.
I know. There's a bunch of punched card programmers still keeping Southwest afloat. Brandon goes like, yes. My professor.
One of my first computers was a TI-99. So.
Brandon goes, yes, that's what the professor does for a living. I know. Anyways, so that wasn't affected. But what really got me, what's really thinking is when I got to the airport back to Indy, right? Because it was a little bit of late, but we made up time. We get to Indy, and some a-hole's package got jammed in the conveyor belt in the baggage claim because they said because I won a yoga mat at the competition, so I had 2 checked bags, and somebody's baggage got stuck. So I'm sitting here at the checked baggage thing to get my stuff, and I just stuck there for like 30 minutes waiting for maintenance, and I'm like, I should just go up there and kick this thing out. But I'm also afraid it seems like some teeth in it or something that'll chew my arm. I don't want to, be armless. Easy way to lose 30 pounds, but, anyways, yeah. We weren't late for CrowdStrike. We were late because somebody's, suitcase got stuck, which no one, for some reason, that bag, the 2 bags that were stuck, got unstuck. No one wanted to claim those bags. I was looking. I was waiting. I was gonna be like, this motherfucker right here.
It wasn't their
He's
fault.
the reason.
Oh man, and
It was the baggage claim handlers.
no, don't blame them. And then at the same time is the massive sorority convention was just starting. You know, it's like they were all coming in, right? So like, you know, luckily the sorority was there, keeping the peace, keeping everybody calm. It was nice. It was magical.
Yeah. You got to watch a bunch of college girls just walking around.
No, these are. I only saw the alums. I didn't see any of the ones still in college.
All right.
What? Play Druffle? I want to play Druffle.
Terrible.
Anyways, no. That's why. So yeah. And probably should do an episode on, like coming up, and we should probably do one on the cross track thing. I've seen a lot of people because like the good explanations are from people like the technical ones. I think only like people like us who are like probably watching it, but our fans are probably like, I'm not gonna watch it. Hope these guys will break it down for us.
Like, explain it. I don't care.
Yeah. You know, just kind of like the, you know, anyways, you know, but that's not the topic we're going here at hand. We've got this other topic. Vincent, you want to go ahead and introduce the topic?
Sure. So a video came across my recommendeds. I've linked it in the Discord. It's called Artistic Vandalism. Is the art of artistic vandalism, or the age of artistic vandalism, by Nuxtaku, and it's a 2.5 hour video going into the general concept of artistic vandalism, of taking something that already exists and using it as a vessel to create something different that has no connection to the original, or if it does, it's specifically changed in a way to make it worse. So in the video, he goes over a lot of examples. I'm going to touch on some of them that weren't in the video as well. But the first one he talks about is the live action Avatar, right? Because the live action Avatar, the Netflix Avatar, had a lot of
which
issues
one?
into it. The Netflix Avatar series had a lot of issues. The original creators left early on in the production because they were originally attached to it, and they left. There's a lot of quotes from the creators saying that they wanted to tone down how mature the cartoon was because it wasn't suitable for children.
Hey, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that on Nickelodeon?
Yes. Yes, it was. So they wanted to tone down some of the things because they're not suitable for children. You see,
the cartoon.
Yes.
From the 90s. Was the
90s?
2000s on Nickelodeon.
Yes. Yes. They wanted to tone that cartoon down because it's too mature. And they also wanted to make it more like Game of Thrones, in their opinion.
Ooh.
They wanted to make it more serious, like Game of Thrones.
Ooh, what season?
They just said like Game of Thrones. So what they ended up with is something that is very lifeless. It has none of the energy and the soul of the original Avatar series, and a lot of characters have no direction or motivation at all. Because one of the worst people that gets it is Sokka, because he was a country bumpkin who believed that men were warriors and women were whatever. And like a large portion of like the first 2 seasons is going, oh, he's wrong. And here's why he's wrong. And he changes his opinions and understanding of the world by expanding his horizons, by meeting new people and discussing new ideas and understanding that his small, tiny country bumpkin world isn't everything. And then that's this character who is a sexist bumpkin is a valiant warrior who's willing to sacrifice his most prized possession for his friend,
right?
Who is also a female warrior who's shown that she's arguably the best warrior out of all of them in Toph, because Let's be honest.
Yeah, because that part of the TV show, the cartoon show, like I was like, oh my god, they're actually going to kill somebody. They're going to kill someone
Right.
again, and they're not going to do it off screen of Jet. They're just going to like legit kill someone on screen.
What happened to Jet?
Oh man, Brad, we need you to watch Avatar, the cartoon.
Yeah.
I've seen some of it.
It's really, really good, and it's well written. And one of the things that really gives it life is the fact that Aang, as a character, is still a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
His character growth from being like carefree and wanting to play around, and how it transitions into him taking things more and more seriously as things get more serious.
Right.
And that was another one of the issues with the live action, is where they just skip right to final season Aang being serious and focused, and it's like, bro, this boy, the first thing he says is he wants to go penguin sledding.
Right.
Fuck you mean?
Right. I did, because he has no thing of the war, doesn't know about the
Right.
war. He ran. He's trying to run away from his destiny.
Right.
You know, the first part of the story, and then just like most kids, you know, only start getting serious and they realize, holy crap, I'm not immortal.
Right.
I can't be killed.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And it was that moment he realized, holy smokes, I nearly died. These people are trying to kill me.
Yes. Like, this is bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're playing for keeps, you know.
Yes.
Not only are they trying to kill me, they're trying to end the, you know, fire Hitler.
Take over.
Know? Yeah.
They're trying to destroy everything.
Yeah. Everything you hold dear, everything. They want it gone. It was, yeah. It's, yeah. But that took time. Like, even season 2, most of it, yeah. Up until that, he nearly died. Everything was a joke.
Right.
You know?
And he has to learn how to act different. He has to learn how to be more serious to understand other bending types, because that's just how his character is.
Yep.
But in the live action, it's nothing like that. They're kind of using the template of Avatar: The Last Airbender to make something that is far inferior without a lot of the care and detail, because they want to make it more suitable for children on this children cartoon show.
Okay, all right. We can talk about Avatar like that. So,
right,
like,
so,
what? Yeah.
So that's like a very light version of it. Another thing he talks about in the video is all the Disney live action remakes, and how how each remake progressively gets worse and worse and worse, and they miss out on important elements of the narrative and change it in a way that makes no sense.
Right.
So he went into detail about the difference between the original Mulan movie and the remake of the Mulan movie, because you are introduced to Mulan in this world and her place in this society, and how she uses her brains and her intuition and creativity to try to solve problems.
Yep.
And in the live action remake, she falls off of a top of a banister and like front flips and lands perfectly fine, like it's nothing.
She's always been good.
She's always been an amazing warrior, don't you see? And they were just wrong to exclude her. She was meant to be an amazing warrior in the live action remake, in comparison to her earning these people's respect and trust, and her putting herself on the line in a way that is so specific to that character that you lose a lot of her intelligence and her ingenuity and how she uses her thought processes to work towards successfully completing these goals, in comparison to live action remakes. Like, she's just a badass that could beat people way better than everyone else here can. It's like, why?
Yeah, it was bad. Like, yeah, I didn't watch the remake. One, I didn't get my Donny Osmond song. I got that. You know, that whole brutal, twink storyline was cut out. I'm good. I'm good. Cut the by erasure. Okay, all right. Wasn't standing for that.
But yeah, no, it's they kind of just
Yeah.
take this element of she earns the respect of the emperor
Mhm.
of this country who bows to her because of her creativity and ingenuity. She takes out the horde by causing an avalanche and not fighting them head on with weapons.
Right. Right. Yeah. Doing a smart move with the little rockets.
Right. So they're just taking an already established story that they know that people like and enjoy in order to try to shoehorn it in to make more money and create a new vision of something without any of the integrity or interesting elements of the previous.
All right. Yeah. What other examples you've got?
Well, one that isn't in the video that is completely massively relevant
Yeah.
is the Halo TV show. Which
let me go tag producer Paul.
which
I just want to see
the writers of the show proudly said they never played Halo. They're like, we never played Halo and we have our own take on it because we never played it. And we don't care about any of the lore and things. We're doing our own thing because we've never immersed ourselves into this world.
Mm-hmm. That's infuriating.
Right.
Yeah. And the exact opposite of that is what we saw with Fallout or where they actually did, get people in there, play the game, the lore. Todd Howard was somehow involved, which that it didn't fail completely with him being involved is amazing. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Fallout. Great job. One Piece live action. Great job. You can tell like these people care.
Yeah, at least the producer and the person that was working on it really cared about the original series and wanted to at least pay homage to it.
And apparently they did try to get Jamie Lee Curtis to get Dr. Correa. She turned it down. Like
it would work.
Oh God, that would be perfect. Perfect.
But yeah, the Halo show, which is officially canceled after 2 seasons, thankfully.
Boo, third season.
Thankfully.
Paul to cry.
Third season would have fixed it all. It would have made it all make sense.
The whole first season was terrible. They went out of their way to kind of just disrespect a lot of the elements of the narrative.
Take my helmet off.
The Master Chief was constantly without his helmet, without his Spartan armor for no reason. There's a reason that the fans call him Master Cheeks or John Halo because he's not Master Chief.
Yeah, because they keep showing his butt cheeks. About that. God, it was so bad. I kind of erased it from my memory. Look at that TV show making me forget nudity.
They took an element like the Covenant, which is a bunch of different alien races who hate humans and want to exterminate humans, and they go, "Cool, here's this human that's on the Covenant army."
That makes sense.
Totally, it totally makes zero logical sense at all. Where why would you invite the enemy that you despise to the point of wanting to them exterminated, extinct from the universe, to join your covenant? That totally makes sense.
Stop paying attention. It makes perfect sense. Oh God, that was such a bad show. Yeah, and
it's crazy to think that the moment that people liked the most is when Cortana just goes, "Cool, I'm hijacking your brain," and then it's gonna look like actually Halo. It's like
oh God, that's so bad. That's bad. That's a bad shitty writing.
Oh,
yeah. All right.
So there's the obvious show that will not be named. We're not going to get into it because he talked a lot about it on that video. Because
I don't want to talk about that show.
We're not going to. But Nux probably has more hours of content on the internet about that show than how many hours are in the show.
Oh God, it's so bad.
Because that's how much he's talked about it, broke it down, and discussed it. So he brought that up as well because it doesn't make sense for you to take a classic kids cartoon idea and just cram it into the ground with no care of what you're doing, and it's supposed to be a prequel series to the original normal series. Makes no sense.
Actual motherfucking vandalism. Okay.
Yes.
Vandalism.
Yes.
This is just bull. It's literally like they had a story and just wore that entire content and schemes to push another story, and then they were mad that they had to do it this way, so they just said, you know what, we're gonna piss on everything that was great about this story, even though this series has been going strong since the 70s and all kinds of different reincarnations.
My favorite quote that he has in there is that, you know, your writing is bad when you make the man baby with the small penis the most likable character in your series.
Yeah. Yep.
And then, of course, he talked about the downfall of Star Wars. That he's openly said that he has a whole different video planned because he's been doing hours upon hours long deep dives into the lore of Star Wars and how things are. And I mean, the Acolyte is terrible.
Glad I'm a Star Trek fan.
The Acolyte's terrible. Like I've seen all 8 episodes, and it literally feels like the only reason it's set in Star Wars is for them to have a lightsaber.
And not get sued.
This could be literally any other story written by... It genuinely feels like one of those dark romances that's all over Book Talk.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this story is. Because... let's make one of the main characters watch all of her friends die. And when she confronts the guy that kills them, he goes, well, that guy tried to arrest you. And, well, nothing was going to happen with that person anyway. And then she's like, I'm on your side. I want to bang you. Yes, Reinhold. Yes, Reinhold.
Just in case those people haven't watched that episode, you probably are not going to watch it.
You're better off not watching it. It's
You're better off watching Madam Web or Morbius.
Yeah. You'll have more fun. You'll have more fun.
Yeah. This is
freaking...
it's Morbin time. Okay.
There were more heel and face turns by the 2 main leads in the course of 8 episodes to fill an entire year's worth of wrestling.
on a dime.
It's like you want to kill these people, then you find out that this important person to you is alive, so you're not going to kill them anymore. And then when those people come to arrest you as you turn yourself in, you fight back and don't turn yourself in. And you purposely prevent them from taking you in when you were turning yourself in. That was your plan.
Yeah.
And then after that happens, you go to meet with your sister who you decided to turn yourself in for.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't immediately agree with you, so you turn on your sister and then go back to your original plan.
Okay, all right.
And it's just like,
I got
logic.
I got something. All right. Now, I'm thinking there's probably days of footage on the cutting room floor. Like, if this is just cut awful, okay.
No, Harry.
I'm thinking that this is just like cut bad. Like, this is meant to be a movie.
They filmed more footage. They
Right,
filmed more
right. That's what I'm
footage
saying.
to
Right, I'm
put
saying.
Smilo Ren more in the show.
You're right, but there's got to be more footage that strings a lot of this together better. Okay, just it's going to. There's probably a like a Zack Snyder cut of this out there, right? Like some long form out there. Okay, all right. That's I want to believe that nothing is that bad, and
The
there
show,
are more content. It's just for some reason some idiot out there said, "Hey, cut it. We're going to cut there. We don't need that scene." They've tossed things out or put things out of order. You know, it's like Fox. They air shows out of order. Same thing. It's probably the same thing. Same thing.
All right, Harry, mention that cope to spoiler warning again for me real quick.
Okay, I'm just gonna.
If these two characters have the same mind, they're one mind and two bodies. How do you erase the memories of one of the bodies if they have the same mind? Explain.
Magic. They're wizards.
Explain.
They have magic. The witch magic.
Oh, and you can erase exactly 16 years of memory.
Because when he rolled, right, when he rolled the dice, right, on his mind wiping ability, okay, he only got 4 10s, which is 16 years.
And you know they have the same mind because they specifically showed them have the exact same fighting style when they fought each other, and they explicitly went out of their way to say that they have the same brain, but in two bodies.
Is it the same active brain, or is it the same brain, like two copies of the same brain?
No, they're one brain. There's technically one being split into two bodies. That is, they explicitly say that it's one brain consciousness split into two separate bodies that are connected to a point where they know each other's memories and movements, that somebody who trained for 16 years and somebody who trained 0 have the same amount of accuracy in the movements.
Man, we should make Reinhold watch the Acolyte. This would be great.
It makes no sense. So they're trying to tell this story in Star Wars, and all they're doing is going, you know what we think? We think the Jedis are bad. So we're going to specifically go out of our way to write the Jedis as incompetent as humanly possible.
That's not really out of canon, but
the main villain is surrounded by Jedi. He is in a store. They have him dead to rights because he's surrounded by Jedi. They know he's collaborated on the deaths of other Jedi because he admits that he gave him the poison, and they let him go. They just leave and don't arrest him. They just let him exist.
You gotta remember the early Jedis before the before it all went down, they weren't competent. They had a lot of issues.
Right.
Correct. 800 years.
And they weren't. And there was so if you go back and play like the SWTOR games and the previous into the Jedi were just dumbasses. They were evil and in their own way. I mean, they were manipulative and everything else.
Okay. Yes. Right. Yeah. Like Bane said, pieces defeated them. Okay. I'm just saying, if I was on that planet and I got my lightsaber out and I'm watching my friends just get owned by another red lightsaber, you know what my first move to do? I'm go back in the ship, close the door, nuke that guy from orbit. Nah, bruh. I'm gonna use these cannons.
Ripley.
I'm gonna use these cannons. Boo, 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 boo.
Like, there's just so many things that they just do that they're trying to set in this world. So I'm not even gonna talk about the canon stuff that they've ruined, because there's a bunch of things that at worst made important characters ridiculous. But the actual writing stuff. The actual writing that makes no sense. Like, why are you guys writing this?
It is poor writing. But I want to say, like, there's just scenes probably on the cutting room floor.
No. What you're going to find out is at the end of the season, it's all going to come around and make complete sense. They're going to explain it all.
The season already ended, Reinhold. The season already ended, Reinhold, and it
Well,
ended worse than
okay.
you could have imagined.
So the end of the beginning of the next season, they're going to tie it all back in.
So we need to give them more money.
Spoiler warning, Harry.
I have not watched
a
a second of The Acolyte, so I don't know.
I can't wait. I want to.
One of the final moments of
should,
this entire of the first season, hopefully only season of The Acolyte, is the main protagonist has been a good guy the whole time who watched this guy kill all of her friends in front of her face, who has openly stated that he's manipulated her and her sister. And it ends with them holding hands while holding a lightsaber together, staring at the sunset going down. This man who is openly evil, whose only motivation is I want to be free to be evil. That's his motivation. It's like the Jedi don't want me to be free to be evil, so I want the Jedi gone. It's ridiculous. The narrative makes no sense. It's so dumb. And if I were giving somebody who's seen, let's say you've only seen the original trilogy, the OT, and I told you that this is what happens.
Yeah, before
there's a reason that people aren't going back looking at a lot of Star Wars stuff, because the well of Star Wars stuff has become so toxic by a lot of the way they're trying to use old ideas and characters and change them in a way that fits their current trajectory.
Yep.
In order to try to pull fans back in.
Yeah. Unlike Lower Decks, makes you want to watch the older stuff again. Like, oh my god, let's go watch this.
A good writer will take the old, like, let's say Ben Kenobi, and tell stories of his life that changed him and weren't ideal, and he made mistakes and did things wrong and things like that, in a way that still flows with the character to get to him to a certain point.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there's a reason why he abandoned being a Jedi. There's a reason why he went off on his own and became a hermit or whatever. Yep. So there's a lot of potential there where you could tell a story where he goes through some crap. And
have you watched the Obi-Wan show?
No, I have not.
God damn it!
Good. It's better this way.
I'm just saying that there are ways to tell those stories with those old characters in a way that is engaging, intriguing, and does explain their eventual character arcs. But what I've noticed in Star Wars is that they totally ruined that stuff. They did that with the prequels with Anakin. Right? When Anakin, they did not build enough of a reason for him to turn to the dark side the way he did.
Yeah.
It was not believable.
Right.
In the movies, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's the frustrating part I had with those movies, is because, and that's kind of the last one I stopped watching Star Wars, was because they weren't taking the care to do the right thing to convince you that, okay, I see where his point was. I see why he did this. This makes sense. It does not make sense in there. It was such a quick heel turn that made zero sense and no real motivation behind it.
Right. Now they did go back and fix that with a lot of the the TV shows and stuff like that. They went back and fixed it, and it does make sense, And we got a great character, Ahsoka Tano, out of it,
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, and then they made her a TV show that was 90% silence, where they're just sitting around having pause-filled conversations that go nowhere.
Was it pause-filled enough for a Rocky Horror replacement? I mean, that's why Rocky Horror became famous, is because they had so many pauses in the dialogue that people were putting their own stuff in there.
Probably could
actually, but it's too trash. No one's gonna rewatch it, other than the simple fact that remember, I honestly, the Acolyte did do that. It made lightsabers deadly again.
Sort of.
What? Everyone who got stabbed with a lightsaber in the Acolyte died. They didn't come back with a cute little, scar on their tum-tum. Okay. All right.
Oh, no,
that
it
poor
hurt.
Padawan got shanked 3 times in the chest. Okay. Did not deserve to go up because first one may have not killed her all the way. She's probably going to bleed out. But the other two, it's just like, why? Why she would have bled out?
No, you understand. The lightsaber cauterizes as it cuts.
Yeah,
You're not going to bleed out.
so it doesn't bleed, bro. What are you talking about?
That's not how it works. That's not how cauterizing works. That's not how it works.
Oh yeah, like
Back
that
to fire in
series
space.
that series has a bunch of stuff, really stupid things that make no sense. Like they forget they have the Force. Like every time they only use the Force when it's relevant to the plot.
Yeah.
And any other time they could use it for something else.
Yeah.
But
it's a road.
This is
there's a lot of stories that have that problem though too. I mean, like you like I read Wheel of Time, and there are times in there where it's just like, you guys, you know how to use magic, right? Why are you not solving this problem in a way that makes complete sense?
Oh yeah, let's go Super Saiyan. Oh yeah, forgot about.
Now they do explain in that one because it's lost knowledge. They don't know how to do this stuff. They're just, they haven't figured it out yet. They're not really trying because they're stale and everything. So there's a whole backstory on why that happens. But there's still times where it's just like, you know how to do this. Why didn't you use this to do this instead of what you did? And it's like,
right.
It's hard to write that. It's hard to write a magic system or a power and increase the knowledge of it as you go and not go back to beginning and go, oh, wait a minute, these people should have known better and done this thing that you introduced later on. Right. Because you're writing it later and you're like, oh, this is a good idea. This is how logically it would work. But it breaks what you wrote before. And that's really hard to mess with.
Now imagine that in the middle of a fight scene where they do it once in a fight scene and then never do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But
was it a hallway fight scene?
No, it was a forest.
Because the hallway fight scenes are good.
Oh yeah, this is different.
those they rock. I will give them that one. Both Mandalorian and the original, the one they kind of took it from. Yeah, I've seen both of those scenes, and that's great choreography. That's great cinematography. Yeah, etc. Right, but yeah, if the story's not matching up and making sense, then whatever.
And just to touch on it, because even though I didn't watch it, everyone knows about it. Game of Thrones, the TV show, and how that ended, and how everyone hated it because they ran out of original material, so they decided to write their own thing, and it didn't work.
No, but here's the thing with that though, and you've got to understand this. They knew the end of the story. It's not like they ran out of material that they were building off of. They did run out of the material that they were kind of taking off of the page to get to that person to that point. But the actual ending is the ending that GRRM wants. Now, he's going to say he's going to get there in a better way to make it believable, because the heel turn, again, heel turns are hard. The heel turn for Daenerys in the TV show was terrible. It was not at all earned. It didn't make any sense at all. I could see him writing it to a way that makes sense to do it, but I also think that's one of the reasons why those books aren't coming out now, because he knows nobody liked the ending, and he doesn't know if he can get there in a way that's satisfying to people. So why bother?
Exactly.
It's been way too long for that next book to come out that he supposedly almost had ready to go 5 years ago.
Yeah, just eat more bacon, have bad backups.
But I was never fully into Game of Thrones, so I'm not the person that can talk about that.
I haven't watched one episode.
I will say I read the books when they first came out. The first book came out, and I was waiting for the next Wheel of Time book to make its drop. And I was in the bookstore, and I saw the cover of it said a great fantasy series by and Robert Jordan recommended it, and Robert Jordan and him became friends. Game of Thrones borrows a lot from Robert Jordan Wheel of Time, so there's a lot of interplay there too. but yeah, that's how I got into. So I started reading the books when they first came out, and I devoured the first book. The first book was really well written. The second book really good, and then the books started getting a little bit. But there's a lot more in the books that was not in a TV show. The whole magic stuff that's in the books is gone. I mean, and they can't do all of it. I understand that, but knowing now where the end is going towards, I'm like, whatever. Okay, this like the ending with Jamie and what's her name?
Don't know who these people are.
That ending is wrong. The what is in the TV show was terrible. He's got to change it up for the books because that was so completely satisfying. We have a guy go through this complete character arc, become a completely different person, and then just because his sister bats her eyes at him, he's going to kill himself. I mean, screw that. That's stupid.
Yeah.
All right. In the last 10 minutes, you've set up examples. Let's get into the meat on this whole vandalism thing. Bring this home.
So the vandalism thing is giving a lot of examples of like the Western stuff and all those transitions of how that is seen through. As of now, you see that a lot of these media things, a lot of these ideas get destroyed and removed because people are taking their own ideas and forcing them into things, right? This has become very prevalent with anime and all that stuff, and there's a couple of things that are massive with the anime things that affects all of this, and it's an example of what happens when people are just given unfettered control to do things that make no sense. So one of the examples is that there is a manga that is translated. It's called "I Think I Turned My Childhood Friend Into a Girl." It's about a guy who's a cross-dresser. And when it got translated, the translators gave this male character all female pronouns. And they basically created they took a male character who identified as male in the original and turned them into a female character because they thought that it would be better for the story.
Okay.
And so they had this unfettered control where now the official version in the West is not what the original creator intended, was not what they had, is not what their story was. There is a bigger example that has caused an even bigger controversy because it was a shoujo anime that came out in 2007 called Lovely Complex.
Okay.
And a new company wanted to dub it because it was never dubbed because it was too much money. So this year, the company bought the rights to dub it. And there is a post by a YouTuber, Jelly Apocalypse, where he talks about how him and his friend, like his friend who was hired to translate it, hired him on as a freelance translator. And they decided that the story of the original story that they were translating sucked. And they didn't want to translate it, so they wrote their own script over their dub. There is a bunch of actual quotes where he says, I came to the conclusion that I definitely hated Lovely Complex. That he hated the series he was paid to translate and was paid to work on to be as an official translator. And he went out of his way saying, well, literally one of the quotes is that I'm one of the only people who know how to write romance. So we wrote it better. And we took this show from a 3 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10, but still don't buy it because it sucks.
What?
And led him to get fired. And they ended up having to, when they released the Blu-ray, they had to explicitly said they went through and retranslated it and got rid of the stuff they added because they specifically broke this narrative. to the point where he threatened to leave if they didn't cut out the one scene that had the original writer in it. She voiced a character for one scene. She had one line of dialogue.
Oh.
And he threatened to quit if they didn't remove her line of dialogue.
Why?
Because he thought she was a terrible person. He hated the story. Right?
But he's just a translator.
Right, but I translated the script. You're paying me to do it. So if you don't do it, I'm gonna quit. And I have name value because I'm a YouTuber that people know and want to watch.
I just don't understand like the hubris of this person that just like you're just a translator. That's all you're doing. You're just translating it like this.
Right. And
I'm not getting you for your because you just have experience translating. You have some, all right, yeah. Bring on the AI.
Right. So all of this leads to like there's a tragic story that's connected to all of this. That there was a mangaka. I don't want to just put her name out there because it's really sad and depressing. But she wrote a series. The rights were bought.
Mm-hmm.
The company who made a live action version of it hired her on as a consultant, ignored everything she said for the first 10 episodes, and they had her write the last 2 episodes because it was so bad and destroyed her content. And then afterwards, after that whole debacle and the whole thing happened, she removed herself from the server. And in her information, she explicitly talked about this as one of the factors that pushed her to that limit. That's something that she held dear, that she wrote and spent all of her time and love and care into, and that she put even more love and care to try to get it properly translated into a different format that they consulted her for. She gave notes, she talked to them, she discussed this, and then they just ignored her and created their own thing based off of her content. And it destroyed this person who spent all this time and effort and care writing the story. So while there is that is an extreme example. That is one of those things that's like that's very rare. That's just gonna happen every day.
Right.
But it is one of those things of when you have something that people care about and you go out of your way to take it and destroy it and change it into something that you want it to be, without thinking about the consequences of changing that thing for somebody who originally created it, who spent their time, love, effort, blood, sweat, tears into creating something. And then you just destroy it. It has ramifications. It could be financial ramifications, like what Disney's seeing with Star Wars and Marvel up to now with Deadpool, or it could be cultural ramifications, like what happened where basically Jello Apocalypse doesn't have a career anymore. Like, even though he's a YouTuber, a lot of people just don't trust him, don't like him, don't want to listen to anything he has to say. Or you have a series that could just destroy somebody's creative vision to a point that they are lost. You have destroyed something that they have worked long, hard, and care and love into, and it's just gone.
Yeah.
So it's rough to see that some of the things we talked about are a lot lighter, a lot goofier, not as serious. But especially when you get into stuff like individual people writing novels or writing mangas, and they're trying to get their thing translated to something that they've worked their whole lives on. You can easily see a lot of issues, a lot of trouble, a lot of strife that happens when they don't listen to them and they change their creative vision to be something that isn't their creative vision anymore.
which, so this is something like, how can I put it, like something we've just been seeing a whole lot of, is people like, and just say like, hey, don't take it too serious, it's just anime, but like without understanding that, especially mangakas and other people, like this is their art. There's just one person penning these things, inking these things out, writing the stories, and sitting and doing this. Usually one or a team of like less than 5 people that are doing this thing, pouring their life into this thing. And when they finally get the license to the West, they treat it like it's like tissue paper, like comic book. It's like, oh yeah, it's just got a team. It's like, no, it's not like that out there. And it's
yeah, it's rough to see some of that stuff, and sometimes it's lighthearted and it's just, oh, we're just not gonna watch Star Wars anymore. Oh, no one's gonna care anymore. And other times you'll have actual novelizations that are turned into TV shows and their rights are completely removed, and they can't do anything about it. There's a YouTuber named Dominic Noble who does Lost in Adaptation.
Lost in Adaptation.
Yeah, where he goes through like a book and goes through the narrative of the book and goes through like a movie or a TV show and compares it. And one of them he talked about is that like the rights were sold early on and they just didn't do anything with it. And right when the rights were going to come up, they made a shitty straight to TV movie that didn't take care of the plot at all. And the original creator died before she could get the rights back to get an actual proper sequel to an actual proper adaptation of her series.
So, and this is some of the stuff we've been talking about. Is like a lot of people who have the keys to the kingdom, they want to write. They really do want to get out there and write their own stories, but a lot of them have shortcuts to be able to get to these big productions. Like we were talking about, like just for, I think we've had discussions about, like people's writing credit before they're giving to like some big name project. They're giving someone else's storyline, someone else's toys to basically play with and to write with it. And they, instead of respecting the fans, everything that goes with it, they just write their own thing. And then they get really, really ticked off when the fans are upset. The people who's like, hey, these are the people you're ticking off, for people who buy the toys to do all these different things. These are the people you're ticking off.
Right. There are people on the internet memeing on the guy who wrote Andor, because when he wrote it, he specifically said that he had Wikipedia up and researching all the lore stuff and all the things that are there in order to make sure his show was accurate. And like, this dude used Wikipedia to write his show, lol, because he cared. He cared about it.
Cared.
And there's a reason why people really like Andor as a show.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's one reason why I'm very skeptical of this Star Trek show coming out, because it's like, oh no, I don't want James Bond in space. That's just not what I want. This is not what I want.
I mean, look at the Picard show. For a large portion of it, people were like, why are they doing this? This is terrible. Why are they creating all these things with this character that didn't need to happen? Or creating all these things that nobody liked for the longest time until it got to later on, because apparently it gets good.
Yeah, respect back to the source material. You're right. Like if you're going to go if you're going to have fun with it, be like Lower Decks. They're having freaking fun with it.
I didn't necessarily mind the storyline of the first couple of Picards. The idea of what he's going through and the things like that. It was just done badly. There were twists that happened, like the people's motivations where they turn again, heel turns and things like that, where it didn't make any sense. Right? It was really badly done. So I don't think it was necessarily the fact that they were doing Picard and the fact that they had some of these storylines. It was just that the storylines weren't done well.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
it just, I think a lot of people just said it just wasn't Star Trek either. Like it didn't feel like Star Trek, and I get that. Star Trek does have a feeling. Like to me, like Deep Space. Like I remember, like a lot of people had a problem with Deep Space Nine. A lot of the older Trek kids, when Deep Space Nine came out, they did not like Deep Space Nine, and I freaking get it. Watching the original series, watching Next Generation, Deep Space Nine was completely, different. And to me, Deep Space Nine only works because of those 2 other seasons. If you just gave me Deep Space Nine without the other 2, like, oh, this is junk. This is crap. I'm not watching this.
Right, and I think that the intentions can be good, but if it's done poorly, it's still going to have the same issues.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's a reason that there are people that pick a particular doctor for Doctor Who, and that's their doctor, and all the other doctors they're holding them at against the benchmark of their favorite doctor.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this person isn't as good as this one because of this and this, because it's not like the one that's my favorite, and you're just kind of holding a marker to it.
Yeah.
And then each person came in at different times. So they have different doctors and different understandings of what Doctor Who is to them.
I think a lot of also the vandalism piece comes into when a lot of the writers intentionally know that they're doing wrong to the lore and to the fandom because they actively hate their fans.
Right. Or they don't know what they're or they go into it without any knowledge or care about the things they're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Like why make a Halo show if you don't know anything about Halo?
Correct. Or I actively hate the Halo series. I hate the Halo fans. I hate them. I hate them.
Right.
I hate everyone who picked up an Xbox controller and played Halo. I'm like, okay, this is weird. You know, but it's been like that to a lot of different IPs these last years. Just like I hate them. I actively hate every one of them, and I don't want them as fans. Okay, you know. Look what you did to the comic books. You know, like you don't like my politics, you don't like my thing, don't buy my comic books. And clearly they didn't buy the comic books. You know, and then we have this way of closing comic book shops.
Right. It's when you tell somebody you don't want them and they have 100 other options, they're gonna go cool and do something else.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, same thing just happened in video gaming. Like we're not getting what we want. Like it's only like some of the kids that like are they still buying like some of the sports games, but a lot of people are like, listen, I don't care anymore. I can buy. I don't want to buy anything new. Not until I see it's come out for a bit. You know, it's
right. Like think about how many games that are coming out. They're like the Saints Row remake. Like, let's just take the idea of Saints Row. Let's take the idea of Saints Row, make them broke college kids who want to become criminals to pay their student loans.
Mm-hmm. Which honestly could work, could be the start of the criminal enterprise.
Right.
The start
but then they wrote it terribly.
Right.
But they're like, oh, no, we are the Third Street Saints for no reason. Why?
Right.
Right. It's concepts that they're wearing as a skin suit to tell a completely different story.
Right. So something they want to do, you know, instead of like, because their stories they can't get to the ground, or they don't want to sit there and because they don't want to sit there and take the time to write their own stories and understand like, hey, for that first few decades, you're going to have a small bit. You're going to be on the, you know, I'm sure Reinhold remembers when he got his first Wheel of Time book and all 10 of them was sitting in a room going like, people should read this.
Right. Or
I've been saying it for decades, yeah.
Who read the Witcher series, and then they got games. They're like, oh my god, this is like the books we're reading, and they're expanding on it because they have all this time and energy and space they can expand on these lores on. Then we're gonna make a TV show and hire a guy who cares about the Witcher, then ignore him and tell him, no, you're annoying. You're trying to make things accurate.
We have a similar thing going on with Wheel of Time that it's kind of frustrating. I remember, and this is funny, it was back in probably 1999.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to, Heather and I were just first starting to date, and I was talking to her, and I said, you know what they should do, because I love these books so much, and what they should be doing, and the series wasn't even over yet. We hadn't get the final one yet. Robert Jordan was still alive at the time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I said what they should do is instead of having a season of TV be, you know, they should take that season and be one of the books. And then the next season would be the next book like that. And it was just like, nobody had thought of doing that yet. And then Game of Thrones comes along and does it. And then everybody starts doing it. Right.
Well, so technically it was Harry Potter first because each movie was a book.
But that was a movie. I'm talking about TV because you're never going to get, you cannot get what's in one book of the Wheel of Time and arguably probably Harry Potter, but Harry Potter is so small compared to what Wheel of Time is. You can't get the whole story in just a 2-hour movie. You have to have, I was thinking 20 episodes of a season to tell one book story.
Yeah,
as big as those are.
They'll milk Harry Potter to 20 seasons. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, they're already gonna do that. Yeah, that's true. But like,
so even now they're giving the people making Wheel of Time, they're giving them 8 episodes to do a book, and there's no way they can do it. They're having to cut things, they're moving things out, they're changing things around because they can't get the whole story in. And people are upset about that. They said, we wanted to see a true to life reenactment of the books. Every word, the word's great. Why are you changing the words? That sort of thing. The argument's there, even though there's a lot of stuff that a better editor probably could have helped. His wife was his editor, right? So a better editor may have solved some of those issues in the book, but it's still a great story and well done. So seeing that come to life has been great. But yeah, I used to tell people all the time, you got to read these books, you got to read these books, you got to read these books. But who's going to sit down and try and read a 14, 15 book series? It's all one story. It's not like, there were some other series are out there where the one book and then the next book was a different story that picked up with the same characters. This wasn't that. This was one long story, 2 million words and whatever.
Right.
Hey, the way that movies are coming out, maybe I might,
Is it Harry directly in his life points? The newest Ghost in the Shell.
That was.
Yep.
You don't understand.
Dude,
I have rewatched so much Ghost in the Shell, and I refuse. It was so good up until a point. The idea that the United States dystopian world splits into two and just starts having a war for economy's sake with each other, just shooting guns at each other just because it spurs the economy on, was hilarious and a great concept.
Right, and then they broke it.
And then they broke it.
No,
then they broke it.
They got too real. Anyway,
no. That's
then they got too bullshitty.
It got bullshitty. It made no sense, and it kind of it's like, have you watched any? Have you read any of the lore to this point? That makes no sense.
How many of you guys have seen The Man in the High Tower?
No.
I remember you talking about this before. I think.
Man in the High Tower is a alternate history TV show. It's based off of Philip K. Dick. So right there, anything that's based off of Philip K. Dick is going to be good no matter what, because it's based off of a genius. They took that and they made a great first season with this thing, maybe even a great second season. And then they kind of wanted to do more with it. And the third and fourth seasons were a little, you're running out of ideas and things. They had to go bigger and different and change things. But it's basically what modern day United States would look like if Germany and Japan had won the World War II. And it's like Germany controlled the eastern part of the United States, Japan controlled the west part, and then the Rockies was like a neutral DMZ zone between the two because Germany and Japan didn't get along and they had to have these little war between themselves, and it was a whole thing. And so it's a great storytelling, a great way of doing it, and there's a multi-dimensional story to it because they get these videos. It starts off with them finding videos of America winning the war. And they're like, well, how did that happen? That didn't happen. So there's things that are going on that's a little more mystical later on, but it's pretty cool stuff. So, but yeah, that's the thing there too, is they took a great idea. They had a great execution the first season, great execution pretty much for the second season. And then it just sort of, the money grab happened.
Right.
Right. They wanted more. People wanted more story. And then they had to try and come up with that because they've lost the original plot, basically.
Reinhold, let me introduce you to a little series called Boruto, which is just a cash grab. Like, let's, after the end of the series, let's make a series about his kids because we wanted to.
It makes no sense.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
cash grabs all the time. But that's why I respect stuff like Gravity's Falls. That are like, I have 2 seasons. Period. That's all I got. I don't have anything else. It ends after 2. I'm done.
Like if he came up with another series and just like aged up the kids and gave a good time skip or something like that, I'd watch the crap out of it. But he also knows, but he's not going to do that either. No. It's like, heck no.
A great series, and
yeah, he's just because if you tell him, you even ask him, like fanfic it yourself, write it yourself. Whatever you write will be better than I don't think I'll do.
A great example of somebody who knew what they wanted, the story they wanted to tell, and they told it and said they were done at the end of it, was The Good Place. He had an idea for an ending in that. He knew what the story he wanted to tell in that. He set it all up in the first couple episodes. I mean, that was some really great writing.
Yep.
And yeah, to tell that story from where it started to the very end where it came to, without missing a beat, without staying trapped in one place too long, without getting stale, with changing the game up a lot. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, you just couldn't see anything coming a lot of the times. It's like, what?
Yeah, the first season finale was like, what did I just watch? Right. What have I been watching? And you're like, how can they do anything like this again? And then the next 3 episodes, they're like, oh, we're switching it all up again. We're going to do this here. We're going to. It's so good.
you think like, oh, they're going to do this for their season. Nope, we're going to do this instead. Oh my god.
No, it was, and I've been watching these people react to it. These 2 guys react to it, and they were just like in the middle of the 3rd season now, where they're saying, you know, I was worried that they were going to do this for too long, and then I realized they don't do that. They stay with it for a little bit of time, but you know it's going to change soon, and you know it's going to be different later, and so you don't have to worry about, oh, I have to slog through this or anything like that. No,
you can't skip an episode. You can't skip an episode.
You don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't want to take a chance and miss the time knife. You got to have the time knife.
Yeah.
But like,
everybody's seen the time knife. This,
another great example of something that knows exactly what it wants to do. It has a beginning, middle, and the comic book Spider-Man life story. And the whole premise is that all Spider-Man continuity is canon, and it happens on a timeline. So it starts in the 70s all the way to like the 2010s, and they have to adjust things like Cap fights in the Vietnam War. Yeah, Cap fights in the Vietnam War, and how does he deal with the fact what happened in Vietnam and how that changes him as a person? Because he was in Nam, he wasn't frozen.
He becomes a Punisher at that point.
Yeah, there's a budget. They purposely go through continuity and deal with things in canon where there's space like, boom, Secret Wars happen, where he gets the symbiote suit. He just has the symbiote suit in this year because it happened off screen before this chapter because we have a different story to tell with the symbiote suit right here.
It's kind of like,
yeah, it's fantastic. I loved it. It's only 6 chapters. It's a complete collection. It has a beginning, a middle, and it knows where it wants to go. It has an idea, it executes it well, and it represents Spider-Man to its fullest extent.
It's kind of always been the problem with comic books, hasn't it? That they just keep going forever and ever, and you get 800 issues, and it's like, okay,
right.
Where are you going to go now? You broke Spider. You broke Batman's back. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah,
you killed Superman. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah. That's the big comic. Like they're creatively bankrupt. They hog tie everyone so they can't make anything new. But if you go outside the other studios, they're constantly making new, heroes, new villains, new plot lines, new fun stuff.
Go to Japan. When Dark Horse came out. Yeah, when Dark Horse came out, and they were just like, okay, we're just starting. We got these new these new stories. We're going to put out an issue of all these different stories. Tell us which ones you want us to keep going with.
Right.
And they had some really good, interesting characters, and some of them actually took off. One of them even got a movie with what's her name, for goodness sake,
Yep.
The sex tape. I can't remember the name.
Tila Tequila?
No. The
Pamela?
the big one on the boat with the
Pamela?
guy from Pamela Anderson. Yeah.
Okay.
So Pamela Anderson makes this movie is based off one of those Dark Horse comic books. They did a bad job in representing what that movie
Right.
was about, what that comic book was. But
mean,
still, I mean, they come out with some great ideas. That's where Spawn came from, right? I mean, Todd
Right.
McFarlane finally just said, screw this, and started his own thing and came out with Spawn, and that lasted forever,
a great
So,
example of how that is that Shonen Jump in Japan is a collection of series. It comes out once a month. It comes out weekly, and each week it has a single chapter, but it's like a single chapter of like 12 different stories.
Yep.
So if I spend the $20 to get it, I have 12 volumes. I have 12 issues of different stories here, and they have popularity polls where people vote on which ones they liked, which things worked, which things didn't, which things should they keep, which things should they cancel. Why is One Piece still number one? Because it's One Piece. Of course it is.
One Piece.
one of the classics from when I was growing up that did that was Cerebus, where he had a beginning, he had an end, and he went through the whole thing. It took a while. It wasn't like he told the story in 2 years or whatever. It took years to do it.
Yeah.
But he knew that there was going to be an end, and the end was going to happen then, and how it was going to get there. And people were wanting more, and he's like, nope, done. Story's over.
Yep, and could it also be another issue with like American storytelling, because like you're not guaranteed a second season.
Right.
You're not even guaranteed your 8 episodes half the time. It's depending on the pilot and how many episodes they order. And they could cancel you in between. Fuck you, fucks.
Oh, that's what happened to Agents of Shield. They
Mm-hmm.
were told their 5th season was going to be the end, so they did all this stuff leading up to the end of the show, and then they said, "Oh no, we want a couple more." So they had to kind of go, "Okay, and how are we going to make this?" diverge a little or twist off, or how are we going to fix this? They did a pretty good job of it, but it was like you could tell that the way the last scene ends in that 5th season, it could have ended then, and everything would have been okay. The story would have been we're satisfied.
A bunch of stories are never guaranteed, especially in Western media, and even in Japan and Western and Eastern media. Usually, they'll tell them that, hey, this isn't going out. You're ending in 4 chapters.
Yeah.
Finish. Wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
So yeah, this thing that I had this big plan for, I have to streamline everything to make it fit to the 12 chapters I'm given, because I'm just not popular because people don't care.
Right.
So, but that's all. That's combinations of a bunch of things. But
Correct.
It's, in summation, if you want to create, if you have an idea, just create something new. There are so many of these stories that I've had issues with that would be perfectly fine if it's its own thing. If it didn't have the baggage of being attached to an IP that people know or care about, or they want more of, you have now attached this IP to your creation. And now you have to deal with the burden of holding this IP, because it is not only is it a blessing, it's a burden. If somebody tasks me and goes, hey, I need you to write the next Marvel movie, I would go, no. Because I now have the burden of everything that happened in Marvel up to now. And then everything they're going to do afterwards is now attached to it on top of it.
Yep.
And then people are going to be like, what about the comic books? Well, now you have the burden of the comic book information as well on top of it. So while you'll have the eyes and the ears of people who want to see it, you now have the heavy burden of everything that comes with it. And I don't think people understand that is the flip side of it.
Correct. Yeah, I know. No, they don't get. Yeah.
Oh, and just translate what the fucking writer wrote, please. Don't create your own shit. If it's in Japanese, just make it what it is in English. Or if you're going from English to a different language, just be what the text says.
Yep.
Don't change it, because people will know.
Yeah.
And people will find out, and people will be very upset.
So you don't like jelly donuts?
I have to go.
Yep.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we're wrapping up. You go ahead. You can go say. You can say. You get a thing you want to say, Randall? Okay, you go. It's fine.
It's pouring down rain and dogs are outside. I gotta get them in.
All right.
Talk to you.
Bye, Randall.
Bye, Rhino.
We are kind of long in the tooth. So let's end this thing. Like, thank you, everyone. If you've made it this far in the episode, yeah, you're a true key holder. We'd like to thank you. You could have listened to anything else in the world, but you decided to listen to this. And the 300 of you guys who downloaded this every week and have been wondering where we were for months, sorry. I apologize. Life happened. We're back, though. We always come back. Heroes always coming back. This is a live podcast recorded at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on twitch.tv/we are libertarians, and on youtube.com/we are libertarians. So come watch us, come hang out as live, or continue downloading and watching this podcast form. We appreciate either way. You guys want to watch our, or take the content, but I really like the live interaction, live questions, and talking with everybody. So yeah, this being said, thank you guys for listening, and see you guys next week. You guys say goodbye, Vincent.
Bye, guys.